right, turning the page to SEC opponent at our stadium. 3:30 CBS game. Seems like most of the years Georgia opens with South Carolina, and this game hasn't always been that since I've been here, but it's always been early in the schedule, and as it is this year. Got a lot of respect for Shane and his staff, the staff he's assembled. They do a tremendous job with their players. They play really hard. Got a lot of respect for those guys. I know they tend to have players from our state, and we tend to have players from their state. There's always a really important game when it comes to playing a school that's this close geographically to you. So I know both teams will be up for the game, and should be a great atmosphere, and hope our fans can give us a home field advantage for this game.
Coach, when you go back and watch it, how do you feel like Kendall Milton pass protected particularly, and what's the key to running backs being able to be trusted back there on third and medium, third long, obvious passing downs?
Yeah, he had two really key pickups in the game. He did an unbelievable job, but the key to doing it is experience. You know, he wasn't, when he got here, the same player he was at picking it up now. He's probably our most experienced. He and Dejan both have had a lot of reps of, Dale does a good job of bringing those guys along in terms of freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. They get to pick up a lot of stunts and blitzes from us. So there's probably not a look they haven't seen, but seeing it and knowing who to get is one thing, and then physically being able to do it is another. And he had, I know, two key pickups. One of them wasn't even his, and he picked it up and did a really nice job. So he helped us out a lot in that regard.
Kirby, how's Javon feeling, and what do you think his status will be for this coming game?
Have not seen Javon yet because of the Sunday being off, and then today coming in. He will not practice today. I do know that. But as far as where he is, probably won't know until Wednesday's practice whether he's going to be able to go or not. We've had guys in that position with that similar injury be able to play, but I really have no clue until we get further in the week.
Kirby, what have you seen from Spencer Rattler, and what do you expect from him the second time you guys are facing him?
Well, he's got an elite arm talent, I can tell you that. The throws he's made, he can make the touch throws, deep, vertical, back shoulder throws. He's thrown a couple field outs. He had a throw against Clemson last year on 3rd and 10. It was a rope. So he's very elusive, very accurate with the ball, hard to finish on. There's a lot of people that miss tackles on him when they have an opportunity to try to get him down. So tremendous player, sees the whole field, and some of his best plays come off schedule, meaning somebody misses somebody or he scrambles and he hits you on a shot. He's very dangerous.
Coach, kind of an all-encompassing running back question, but obviously we can also see the ball-carrying talent of Dylan Bell. Will he continue to work at that position this week and be a possibility for you? And is there anything holding him back? Obviously, there's so much more to the back position than just carrying the football, pass protection, everything else. And then, dovetailing on that, do you expect Dejan to be able to go this week?
Yeah, we expect Dejan to be able to go. Like I said, he could have gone last week. He could have gone the week before that. We're just trying to go from 80 to 90 to 100. We think he's going to be closer to that. I can't say what he's at, but he certainly felt good enough to go Saturday. So I think having him back helps tremendously. First of all, Dylan Bell has been a selfless player that's done whatever we've asked. He's a really good wideout. This has been going on for a while, so this is not something that's been new. We've done this a lot with a lot of players. Their situation at running back, having guys go back there and look, understand it. Certain plays they can run. He's big enough, 200 pounds plus to pick people up. He's really physically tough. He strikes people, so he can protect. He can do a lot of things from the backfield, and it's something that we're always going to have, as an option or in our package. But a lot of it has to do with the health of our backs.
Kirby, how do you evaluate how the defensive line has played through 2 games, and what areas do you want to see growth going into the first SEC game?
It's hard to evaluate because the teams they played have been overmatched size-wise. We have more size than the team we've played, so it's tough evaluation. We usually evaluate it based on effort, how hard you play, how hard you strain. Those guys, we played a lot of guys up there, so nobody's played a large amount of snaps. So, I think that it's week to week, you're gonna watch and, see the guys practice. I will say they get a lot more work against a really good offensive line in practices, and they've hit that head on. They've gone out, practice hard, practice physical. A lot of them took more reps on Tuesday and Wednesday than they did on Saturday in regards to the number of snaps.
Kirby, two questions here. One, I wanted to ask about the captain process. If you change that, I know every now and then you'll change some things up in the program in terms of how you select, and two, about the Jack linebacker spot, after film review, if anything stood out at you, the way some of those guys have come along.
No, nothing's changed in terms of the captain process, and the Jack linebacker position has been several of those guys rotating there. Chaz has played a good bit. Darius has played. Marvin's played. The other guys have gotten to play with the game situation. We've got several packages where two guys are in. We have two Jacks in. We have three Jacks in. We have regular where it's Sam and Jack in. It all depends on sometimes what the offense is doing.
Just wanted to see if there was an update on Christian Miller, if you knew what exactly that injury was after the fact, since you didn't.
I think it's a cervical strain. He's fine. He should be ready to go.
Kirby, back at the SEC Media Days, you said that what was driving the team was intrinsic motivation. Can you elaborate a little about what that is and how it applies to the team? And then also, back then, you said they were still finding their identity. Are they closer to finding an identity? And if so, what do you kind of think it is at this point?
I think every day is an identity deal. I mean, I look at every day independent of the previous. This is not something that this is what you are and this is where you stay. I mean, you're constantly moving. So we're constantly trying to improve. I said the other day, we want to be elite at getting better. So our goal today on Monday of South Carolina week is to be elite at getting better. And the teams that get better and improve tend to ascend as the year goes on. And that's ultimately our goal. As far as intrinsic motivation, I think that any good team needs to have that, because you can't do it on outward things that are tangible all the time. Intrinsically, you have to have the motivation to want to be as good as you could possibly be to reach your full potential, because you're not going to have an exterior motivation all the time. It's got to come from within you. And we got some guys on the team that got that. We got some that don't, but every team does.
Kirby, got some all-encompassing wide receiver questions. Lad McConkey, an update on him. Did you get a chance to see AD and Jermaine in that game Saturday? It was a national game, and your transfer receivers, Rara and Lovett, how are they coming along so far?
Lad, day by day, we're trying everything we can to get him back. He's trying everything he can to get back. So I don't really know how to answer it, other than I don't know any more than I knew Saturday. As far as the other two, I got to see some of the highlights from that game and was back and forth between the other games. And then our guys are coming along. You're talking about Rara and Dom. I think both of them are in growing stages. I think Dom's been able to pick the offense up well, is intelligent, has become a better perimeter blocker, made some plays for us, big conversion on third down, a touchdown call back, but made nice plays for us in the passing game. And he's really been a weapon on special teams for us at gunner. And then Rara continues to grow and is getting better with every practice.
Kirby, on the blocking in general and the perimeter blocking, how much of it is, you're a lot less 12 personnel now, kind of feeling things out without Darnell and replacing them, and how much of it is just kind of feeling out your personnel in general, including receivers and such?
Do not understand that question. Perimeter blocking having to do with Oscar and
How about an all-encompassing perimeter outside blocking question?
Okay.
And you all knew you would look different without Darnell. How much is it you're still kind of feeling that out? Is there any concern about it long term?
Not a concern. Darnell is a very unique player. I mean, he had a very unique skill set, but we have more depth at some positions and less depth at some positions. That allows us the freedom to do things, but my concern is not about not having Darnell. We've known that for a long time. It's really trying to figure out who our best 11 are, what those plays look like. I think we have a very good perimeter blocking team. they're gonna get an opportunity to show it for the next however many games we have. Because we work really hard on that, and when I watch our guys do it in practice, they really do a nice job. But I don't know if that answers your question.
Coach, it seemed like Jared Wilson jumped up the depth chart a little bit this week, just in terms of rotation. What did he do? And he was playing center week 1, played some guard as soon as he got in this week. What's 55 done to climb up the depth chart?
Well, he's dependable, he's accountable, he plays really hard, he's in great shape, he's smart, but I wouldn't say he jumped up a depth chart or anything. He plays like a starter, and we're gonna give him an opportunity to play. He's the backup center, so he works at center and he works at guard. He's able to work at both those. We wanna have depth at those positions, so you really wanna have 2 guards that can swing, and you wanna have a center that can play, and he earns what he gets, and he's earned it.
Question for you about Jarvis. I'm curious, can you offer specifics about the suspension, and also how you decided on a 1 versus a longer suspension?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I talked about it the other day. It was a personnel matter. Decided as an athletic department and moved on.
Yeah, with the inside linebackers, how would you evaluate how they've played through 2 games without Smile being able to play as much and getting him back to fuller strength? How much better does that make your defense, having him and Javon kind of at the top of the depth chart there?
Explain what you mean about he did play, like he did start, right?
Yeah, well, playing a bigger role now that he's getting back to fuller health.
I'm still confused what you're asking. The other guys got to play when he was out in the first game, so we got to get depth from those guys playing, but I thought he played well the other day. He's still not, like, he's gone a long time without practicing, so when you go 20-something practices without practicing, you could say, well, he's played for 2 other years. Yeah, he started 1 year. He went through most of spring. I can't remember how many days he got in the spring, but he missed all of fall camp, so I think he's still kind of knocking the rust off a little bit, and he flashes and shows he's really smart, man. He's a really good leader. He and Pop together are comfortable, but we have to have 3 to 4 guys to be able to play that position, and that's the part that we're still a little unsettled on is really the rotation there of who's going to be the guy that goes in, like Ryan Tresman did last year, or Channing did the 1 year.
Kirby, I know the competition South Carolina faced from week 1 to week 2 is hard to compare, but what did they improve from game 1 to game 2 that has your attention? Say, all right, they cleaned that up, and we got to take care of that side or that business, that they look good improvement-wise from week 1 to week 2.
Well, I don't evaluate it that way. I evaluate it as who are they. I look at last year's games. They got some players back from last year. They're explosive. They got good football players across the board, and they play really hard. I think when you look at the end of the year schedule last year with what they did with Tennessee and Clemson, it speaks for itself. Their kids don't listen to the outside noise. They go out and play like they're coached to play, and it's gonna be the same way this week for us.
After going back and watching the film, can you give us a breakdown of how you thought your offensive line played in the last game, and also Tyke Smith after his journey to get to where he is now?
I'll start with the offensive line. I think there were times that we functioned at a high level, and there was times that we had some sloppiness. We had a couple, one lapse in a protection. One time we got beat, and we probably shouldn't have gotten beat. It's game speed type things. It's making sure that I know if this guy's running a stunt or a twist, I'm gonna pass it off by getting my hands on the other guy and not letting leakage in there. But they also pick up a max blitz, pick up some tough things to pick up. So there's positives and negatives like there is every position. What I'm looking for is a more consistency in performance for every position group, but also the offensive line, especially with some of the experience we have there. And then Tyke's done a nice job. He's practiced really well. He's a leader. He's tough. He's physical. He's in better shape. You know, last year, like I always say, he's coming off of an ACL and was probably not the same person he is now. He's in better shape right now than he was. He's starting on 3 out of 4 special teams. I mean, the guy's been a really good player for us for 2 weeks.
Coach, you kind of talked about how the fans have been a little bit. I just wanted to ask overall, what's your opinion been on the attendance and at least the crowd noise they were developing through these first 2 games? And I know SEC Media Days, Tonka Hemingway was asked about some of the toughest stadiums he played in, and Georgia wasn't on that list. How important or how just good to see Sanford being one of the toughest places to play around not only the SEC, but the NCAA?
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be that. People want to question whether our fans are elite. We'll find out Saturday, right? Sounds like Tonka called them out. So maybe we need to use Tonka for motivation and let him be the one that spurns our group to come out there at 3:30 and be really loud and fired up. So I certainly hope our fan base will be there. They've answered the bell every single time. I don't know why they wouldn't now.
Kirby, starting SEC play, so much focus is on, getting to the playoff, winning national championships. I wonder during your time there, what do you have any memories that stand out about winning the East?
I mean, I've never had significance of worrying about. I mean, we just worry about every game. There's times that we've clinched that, and it's like, okay, well, you're gonna go to Atlanta, but that time's so far away right now. It's the least thing I'm worried about. I guess it's a hypothetical. I don't really know how to answer it.
Kirby, we're on generation 2 of Beamer ball, where Shane's dad and him are both make their special teams and mix it up. How do you prepare for that when you know that they're very good at it?
Yeah, they were tops in the conference last year in the little composite thing we do in terms of looking at all of them and ranking all the special teams units and then taking a composite of that. They were one in the SEC, and it's something they do a really, really good job of. I know he's very hands-on with that. He's passionate about it. It creates an identity for his players, and you can see them. They play that way on special teams. They play really hard on special teams units, so it's an important part of the game. And if you look at at least maybe our second game, I don't know about our first one, but it was impactful for us too. So you're going to have a lot of momentum plays in those units.
Coach, they obviously have a new coordinator change with Dal Loggins taking over as offensive coordinator. He's bounced around a lot over the last couple of years. When you go to study that, how deep do you dive him to try to figure out his identity as a coordinator? And how do you go about studying someone who's new to you?
Well, you look in the offseason. We spent a lot of the offseason looking at things he had done at other places he's been at. You watch what they currently do. You see the impact of what they're doing this year is probably the biggest priority, but you also watch where he's been and what they've done last year. They were really successful at the end of last year, and he wasn't a part of that. So I think it's a mesh of all those guys in terms of what they're doing now, and we look as far back as we can because we want to get all the information we can.
Kirby, I know you focused on your season. I guess I want to ask you more of a broad-based question on the SEC. There's been a couple of upsets, I guess. LSU going down. We see A&M losing to Miami. We see Alabama. It was a streak you were a part of there with the non-conference string. How much of that would you attribute to the portal versus maybe just kind of a cyclical deal with all the guys that the league continues to put into the NFL draft?
I really have no idea. I mean, I can't put a finger on it or explain it. I think that every team you mentioned that beat an SEC team is a really good team, really, really good teams. And most of those teams have been improving for a while. And I don't really know why, and don't think I have to concern myself with why, because I got enough to worry about with the opponent I got to play.
Got time for 2 more questions?
Yeah, what do you want to see Malachi start to continue to get better on as he continues to develop?
Disguises, tackling the open field, being a leader. I think he's taken ownership in improving in a lot of ways. And I go back and watch last year's game. Every team we play that we repeat, and you're getting to see him as a freshman to now, and it jumps out at you that like, oh man, I was really nervous last year and was really struggling. And he's more confident, understands the defense better, but still a lot of things he can improve on. But when you watch him last year in this game, he was certainly nervous.
Coach, you touched on Spencer Rattler's arm talent earlier, and I remember back in the UT Martin game, you kind of spoke on how the secondary wasn't tested too much. Now that they're facing a guy like Rattler that can really get it down the field, how important is it for that group to really be tested, especially this weekend and for the rest of the season?
Yeah, we've got to be prepared. It's not just Rattler, it's the weapons he has around him. They've got an elite group of wideouts and even tight ends that they use, and he makes a lot of plays, and they got guys that can play the ball down the field. I mean, the explosive plays they've made in the last 4 to 5 games of theirs is pretty special, pretty elite, and a lot of them are down the field throws, so we will have to play that part well.
Thank you.